It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara, along with Eric Harley. Good morning.
Hello.
We're all shut down.
Yeah, all the government lights were off. I tried to call some government phones. Nobody answered.
Well, let me pull a Norm from Cheers.
Uh-huh.
Is this going to affect my Social Security check? I mean my first Social Security check. I mean my beer. Sammy? No. Then what do I care?
Well, I walked in and our producer Ron said the park's closed. The bear out front should have told you. And I didn't. It was, it was clear. It's all over, folks. Drive safely.
We are done as a nation.
Yeah. The government is shut down.
Oh my gosh. It's these are always fascinating times. I said yesterday that there didn't seem to be a lot of hype and hoopla. That changed yesterday. That's all.
Yeah,
it's funny. That's all that was on social
said,
media. Yeah,
we both said that it probably was going, unless there was something else, a new story that hit. It was probably finally going to catch fire the day of the deadline, which typically it's a week or two, and it's really the story, and it just hasn't been over the past couple of weeks. There have been some huge stories going on, but I also think that, again, the rank and file look at this and go, well, we've been through government shutdowns before.
Now, I guess 3 Democrat senators voted to keep the government open.
Yeah, Fetterman's one of them.
Fetterman, King, and I think Cortez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If memory serves me correct on that one.
Rand Paul voted no, but he votes no for everything. You wake him up during a nap. If his wife wakes him up at home during a nap, if she wakes him up, he goes, no. That's the first thing he says.
He permanently voted not to fund the government.
Yeah.
We're kidding.
Yeah, right.
Somebody's going to take us serious. You guys stop that.
I don't think he has a yes button.
They didn't give him one.
He had it removed.
See? He's saving money.
He had it removed.
Saving taxpayer dollars.
That's right.
All right.
We're not wasting taxpayer dollars on a yes button that will never be used.
Let's get to Fetterman yesterday, all right?
Okay.
This is Fetterman. Here we go.
Hi, this evening I just voted for 2 CRs tonight. And the first one votes to affirm that we would like to extend the ACA tax credits because, of course, I voted for health care. The second vote is about making sure that we keep our government open, and I did vote for that because I think it's a sad event if we shut our government down later today. So for me, our nation doesn't believe that kinds of chaos. Now, for me, it's about more over the country, not the party in this kinds of moments just like this.
What I thought was interesting was the, always is the, since this debate began, was health care for illegal immigrants. And you hear the Democrats saying, well, that's not allowed by law. Yeah, but that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. And in our bill, it stipulates this cannot happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't hear any response. I paid very close attention yesterday to see, because I don't know what's in the bill, and I can't tell you precisely who was spending what on where.
Right.
But I will tell you this, we always know, this is the point, that Democrats want illegal immigrants to get health care paid for by the U.S. citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because went back a couple of months and a discussion on Fox News about it. And it's all the liberals and Scott Jennings. And here's where this discussion comes up. Here we go.
Everyone deserves health care.
Even illegals?
Every single person in the world deserves
Just for the
health
record,
care.
as a candidate, you're for illegal aliens getting Medicaid.
I think everyone in the world deserves
That's a
health
yes.
care.
That's a yes.
I'm such a
That's a
modern-
Democratic
I mean,
position.
it is a yes, but
Yeah.
It's a Democratic
Everyone in the
position.
world
Illegal
deserves
aliens
health
should
care.
get Medicaid.
But I mean, I mean,
How is it
I mean,
controversial?
I don't. But
How is it controversial?
How is it controversial?
They're all yapping.
Yeah.
That is, it's like, well, yeah, yes. So when it comes down to it, it's what they want.
Yeah.
And it's not what the American people want.
Right.
And it's an incentive, as we all know. It's been an incentive for people to come into the country illegally.
Yep.
And we know that. But when you look at what, because a lot of what drives public opinion will be the political narrative, the one you can't beat. And I forgot who it was yesterday. I was watching so much yesterday. It was one of the Democrats. I believe it was a senator who had come out and said, you know, we cannot go for this bill that the Republicans have presented. And then they went back and looked and said, yet he voted for it numerous times, this bill. Because this bill, this spending is not Republican created.
No.
It came from the Democrats.
Yes.
This is the Biden level of spending that Democrats put in. In fact, if anybody should be angry that the continuing resolution is going on, and apparently it's not because 92% of Republicans don't want to close the government, I guess I would ask the question, does that indicate that 92% of Republicans are okay with Biden and Democrat spending that came from over the last couple of years?
We went through this the first time this year. We talked about it then. Democrats had an opportunity to position it that way, and now they want nothing to do with their own bill, with their own spending levels.
Yeah, but this is their spending levels.
Yep. They don't want to own them. They don't want to embrace them. Nope.
And I think it was something like, well, you voted for this 13 times.
Right.
You voted for it.
Right.
It was some enormous amount.
Why
that
now?
the senator voted for it. I saw yesterday. I burst out laughing, going, "Wow!" Well, you can't win that because it is the Democrat spending levels from the Biden administration.
Yes. Yep.
To get to the point where they can negotiate actually what they want in the budget and give another 5 weeks to negotiate whatever it is. And yes, there is fear out there from conservatives, as I was reading yesterday, a number of conservatives stating, geez, we hope the Republicans don't just crash, okay, we're going to be strong now, but 5 weeks from now. No, let's, even though the Obama subsidies were supposed to be temporary, let's make them permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Because the battle isn't over yet. This is just one battle. It's what ends up in it. And, there is a concern, will Trump crumble on this?
Mm-hmm.
And they go back to Trump talking about the fact that, remember when he ran the first time, because it goes back to that going, okay, what does he actually believe about health care?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he wanted a Medicaid for all he had talked about. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the first term.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as to right now, as to where you go on it, because you've got 3 already senators that crossed, that makes it politically tough for the Democrats. When you have 3 Democrats cross and vote to keep the government open in the Senate, you can call it bipartisan at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can point and say, Fetterman voted for it, King voted for it, Cortez voted for it. They all voted for this. Why did they vote? Why did they vote for this? Because they know it's wrong, and they know this was their spending levels to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
It's who actually has the debate points for this that wins. I don't expect we're going to get an incredibly great, fiscally responsible bill if the Democrats lose and they have to reopen the government.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen in our lifetime. The whole Doge thing was a fantasy.
Yeah, as we have talked about. Now, Trump's threatening he's going to make cuts, in here. We'll see whether that happens.
Right.
Whether there are massive cuts to government employees that start anytime soon. He was talking about that again yesterday. We can make big cuts, massive cuts. Well, because the government will be shut down. And so I have the authority and we have the authority as the administration to do that since the government is shut down.
Well,
we'll see whether that happens or.
And one of the things the left used to use when it was a bigger political football was the fact that, well, people are without jobs. And if you go further, if President Trump does go further and says, well, okay, we're permanently going to move in this direction, we're just going to basically take the ball, the political football, and run with it, then you've got to balance out that political damage, if there is any. I don't know if there is. I don't know if they've weighed that on their internals. So all of us fiscal conservatives know there's way too much government bloat. We've been screaming about it for years and years. And now, you're at this point and you have to decide what you're going to do. And it wouldn't surprise me if the president did that. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, what I saw was you saw the New York Times Siena poll. Mm-hmm. And you see that, as you saw the conservative media promoting, yes, almost 2/3 of Americans say it's wrong if the Democrats close down the government. Mm-hmm. But you go deeper into the poll, independents will blame Republicans even if Democrats shut it down. Mm-hmm. Even though I believe they have the argument, they've got a great argument. If independents are stuck in the pathology of dependency of a big federal government providing everything that they want, mm-hmm. It's the reason that Doge would never work, and it's the reason that Republicans won't be able to make any significant inroads into cutting the national debt.
Yeah. That's never going to happen.
If that, again, it's a New York Times Siena poll, so I say if that is true.
Well, and it also, the question is if
the poll is accurate.
It's number one, if it's accurate. Number two, how much of a stain does it leave? How lasting is it in today's age? If you ask the question to those same respondents across the board, do you believe this will be behind us in a month? The answer would be yes.
Yeah.
Because the answer is it will be behind us in a month. And we'll be on to nobody will remember anything from what's going on right now. Nobody will remember a thing from it.
2 weeks, we'll be back to the biggest story, Bad Bunny.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a lasting impression. And that's why it's not the political football it used to be. Jim Garrity in National Review, he posted on X a little over a half hour ago. Happy Fiscal New Year to all who celebrate.
We should be getting the debt numbers in the next week or two.
Yeah, probably.
Because the fiscal year, wow.
Yeah.
It's October 1st. The fiscal year is over.
Yeah.
And it was, technically it's tomorrow, but it's this week. 36 years ago, I started talk radio.
Yeah. And, and here we are in this situation we've been in, I don't know how many times. Seems like pretty much every time we come to a budget, it's this, let's shut it down. We'll shut it down. And okay, fine. And then 2 weeks later, we're back to the same old thing. Because there is no fiscal responsibility, there's not going to be any, and nobody's even pretending anymore that there's. We did at the first part of this year with the whole Doge thing. Oh man, for a minute it felt real.
Yeah, it did,
and it was never real.
Well, we expressed that we liked what was going on, but we had said early on, and we were criticized by a lot of people in our own audience when we said you're not going to cut $2 trillion, you're not going to cut $1 trillion.
You're lucky
get if you get $100 billion,
and you're not going to get a Doge check. You're not going to get a Doge hat.
Right.
You're not going to get a Doge T-shirt.
Yeah,
bumper sticker. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and it's just simply we know where the people of the United States are right now.
Right.
And it's great to say the $2 trillion in cuts until you realize what you have to cut.
Right.
As we had said, if you cut $2 trillion, you cut everything except entitlement programs, and that wasn't ever going to happen.
Right.
And so we had said, don't hype it, just like don't hype the Epstein files and wave them in front of everybody. Don't hype stuff that is impossible to do under the current political stage that we're all performing on now.
Well, and, Rand Paul introduced the 6-penny plan, the 6% plan, which wasn't going to happen. If he had introduced the old penny plan, just introduced that 1%, it wouldn't. There's no way it would take off.
What are you talking about? If he did a true penny plan, saying cut 1 penny, not 1%, 1 penny off the deficit, and just index it to inflation, you couldn't get that.
No.
By the way, I'm not yelling at you, really. I'm just.
No, you were, but that's okay. I'm used to it. But you're old, so it happens. Calm down.
What are you talking about, you youngin'? You youngin', you listen to your elders here.
Get out of my yard. But it's not going to happen. When I've been saying for years we're doomed, and you know what? We're doomed.
866-90 Red Eye.
Hey there, this is Hope Zavara with Mother Trucker Yoga, and here's your health tip of the day. Healthy driver, healthy diesel, powered by Howes. Lower back pain is one of the most common complaints amongst truck drivers, with over 50% experiencing it regularly. Let's fix that. Sit up tall in your seat, inhale and arc your lower back away from the seat, like there's a pin behind you you're trying to avoid. Now exhale, round your back, and tuck your tailbone under, just like the shape of the letter C. Repeat that movement 5, 10, even 15 times until your lower back and hips start to loosen up and feel ready for the road. There you go. Small, simple changes can lead to big results so that you, my friend, can feel good again. Visit mothertruckeryoga.com and howesproducts.com for more tips and support.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We'll get to what one top Democrat had to say about the shutdown, so we're setting him up if we're promoting that. And Josh Hawley getting into a very interesting back and forth yesterday concerning the radical transgender movement again.
Right.
And that's always a highlight when he gets involved in it.
Right.
But I will tell you that there was a term that he was asking somebody about when it comes to, defunding the police, that we need to defund the police and we need to have safe spaces for the radical transgender movement is what he basically was saying.
Right.
But he used a term, and Josh Hawley didn't know what the term was.
Right.
And all heck breaks loose at that particular point. Now, the interesting thing is both you and I actually know what the term was. Now, Josh Hawley didn't know what the term was.
Right.
The guy who was promoting it from the Obama administration, I believe he was, he had no idea what the term meant. Yet they wished to fund something that he didn't even know what it meant.
Right. Yeah, they're promoting it.
Oh,
they
my
have
God.
no idea what it means.
We've got so much great stuff. Ah.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And we are Red Eye Radio. I said, I said we were Eric Harley. I'm an old man. And now I'm wheezing like an old.
By the way, not everything gets better with age. Maybe we let Eric and Gary take some time off.
Oh my gosh! I don't know why I was trying to say we are Red Eye Radio, and it came out we are Eric, and in the middle it was like we are. I gotta go back. I have to go back.
You know the thing, corn pop. Look, he's.
We need to check on Gary's cognitive abilities.
Hey! Any of you start saying Gary's cognitive abilities are less than they used to be? Well, I'm going to tell you, forget you if you can't handle the truth. He's fitter than Mark Levin has ever been. And don't even get started with Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson.
McNamara.
It's go time.
Oh my gosh! I still can't get over it. The one of our listeners, I just don't have it up here at the moment. That when I posted the picture of myself and my dad, and I'm holding my dad's hand, and he's holding mine, almost like that kind of thing, like you're victory. And we had this beach ball that we were bouncing back and forth, and he's in his hospital bed. He writes to me. He just says, "I got to tell you, the only thing I can think of looking at you and your dad in his hospital bed like that is Mandelbaum. And I burst out laughing. I went, I see where you got that. I think he thought I was going to take offense by it. And I went, well, no, it does look like that scene where they're all laying in the bed. All right. I think I have it together.
Okay.
I think I'll be able to get through this.
All right.
Let's first hit Representative Dan Goldman.
Okay.
Talking about the shutdown.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. All right.
The House Democrats are very united in recognizing that the Republicans are trying to ram through the continuation of the acts that they are taking to Americans' health care, to Americans' food benefits, to Americans' Social Security, et cetera.
That's a lie.
Yep.
The continuing resolution. If you want to say that and make that argument when you get to those negotiations down the road, fine.
Right, yeah.
The continuing resolution is the Democrats' priority from the Biden administration.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As I said, we didn't change anything.
Right.
This is from the continuing resolution from March. Remember that?
Yep. Yeah.
And that was, as we all know, what the Biden administration, that's why at that point conservatives were upset back then. Since then, they've said, well, okay, we're no longer conservative. We're gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And so this is simply the same funding levels that the Biden administration wanted. That's a lie from Dan Goldman. But as we all know, what does Dan Goldman do the best?
He lies.
He lies. Let's have more. Here we go.
And we are standing up for the American people because right now is the time that we can do that. The Republicans rammed all that through with the big ugly bill, and we could do nothing. But now they need Senate Democrats. And so what do? They just go with their own partisan bill that continues all of the cuts to health care. We, Democrats, have to stand up for the health care of Americans, and this is the time to do it. And I, frankly, Simone, am very upset to see Senator Cortez Masto and Senator King already caving.
Not happy.
No.
So there you go. Again, they can't make the. If you want to make the point when you actually get to those negotiations, fine. The continuing resolution is what the Biden administration. That's what the Biden administration put in.
Yep.
So
this is Biden level spending, and we talked about it back in March. The Democrats could have come in They could have said, hey, our Republican friends are on board with the Biden level spending and want to keep the Biden agenda going and blah, 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 blah. They didn't go that route. They certainly didn't do that this time. Now they have to, as Goldman does, lie about it. And, all right, you know, it's, we've often said, here, actually, let me ask this question. Who does Goldman think he's lying to? Anybody that cares enough right now, by this time, on a continuing resolution is a total wonk and knows the details.
That's true.
Anybody who's not paying attention doesn't even hear Goldman's lie. Who are you lying to? You know, we know you're doing the spin for the liberal activist media. We know that you're doing that. You know, it's a given. And quite frankly, it's not like Goldman's just going to come out and tell the truth. That's not going to happen. Two things aren't going to happen. Republicans aren't going to make real cuts, and Goldman's not going to quit lying. But it just makes you wonder, who are they trying to convince? And because we're just at that point right now. Everybody who is paying attention understands this fully, knows exactly what's going on. You know, it is quite unfortunate. You hit on something earlier. I think it bears repeating, the concern of what the Republicans, including President Trump, might do. Where might this go in the future? What does spending actually look like? What will the Republican Party agree to between now and, well, I mean, the end of President Trump's term in 2036? When are they? Because we're not going back to Doge. We know that. There's not going to be any call for fiscal sanity. I think even, in fact, the closest you can get to it is actually right now when the president's talking about cutting jobs, government jobs permanently.
Yeah, it's so funny that you said that, because this audio cut that I have right now, I was just going to play it. And you had no idea. You had no idea, because I saw just a.
I can't even see his screen, by the way.
You can't see my screen, no.
At all.
And this was investor. He's from Florida, James Fishback on Newsmax.
Yeah, okay.
Yesterday he was making theirs on Fox Business too. In fact, great audio cut from Fox Business. But I was just looking up to see what he had to say, and I found this. And he brings up that if they shut it down, Trump's going to order an emergency dose of Doge. So right. you saying that, just saying, well, the closest we may get to Doge is what may happen.
Right.
If the president decides to say, okay, we're getting rid of all these government workers, here's that audio cut.
It's amazing how the president sets up these games. Heads, he wins. Tails, the Democrats lose. Mm-hmm. If we get a government shutdown, what Dr. Trump is going to end up ordering up is a emergency dose of Doge for the economy. Yeah. Let's lay off tens of thousands of people, bureaucrats that are trying to control your life and my life and everyone watching at home. So be it. Shut the government down, lay them off, purge the government of these deep state bureaucrats, and we'll wake up in a month with a far more efficient system.
I mean, hey, look, the Republicans and Democrats went at each other in what would normally be kind of a mundane yawner situation, and a Doge broke out.
Yeah. He's CEO of Azoria, and he was on Fox Business and talked about Mamdani and what Senator Rick Scott said when he said, hey, if you don't like Mamdani, come down to Florida. Mr. Fishback disagreed with that. This is so funny. Here we go. Okay. We're trying to play another audio cut here. Thanks. Okay, here we go.
I got to disagree with my friend Senator Rick Scott from my home state of Florida, who says if you don't like Mamdani, come move to Florida. No, Florida's full. We had 800,000 people move to our state over the past 5 years. Right. We cannot be priced out and pushed out. Working class Floridians built our state. And I got to tell you, New York, I love you, but you're not a refugee camp for Florida. We just can't take any more of you. I got to disagree with my.
Yeah. Sorry, that was on a loop.
Yeah. It's. It's funny because there's been this, I mean, in terms of retirees, there's been this steady flow down I-95, basically, of retirees moving from New York to Florida for how long?
But
I mean, it goes back to
Yeah.
the beginning for decades now. But now it's of course people escaping New York.
Well, but that is something when he brought that up that I was thinking of too. You know, we've talked about the fact that part of the problem is if people are living paycheck to paycheck, they can't get out of the state that they're in, even if they wish to get out of it. But if you look at the people that are most prepared to move, who've acquired wealth over their lifetime and are on a fixed income, and so they see it. Their income is the same, even if they've got savings. And they just go, nope, it's to the point where we're going to go.
Yeah.
Then Florida's a place that they want to go.
Yep. I mean, it's been the answer for a lot of people. It makes a lot of sense especially if you're getting to that point of retirement, fixed income, as you mentioned, and you want to be able to make that money last, throughout your retirement. It's that point that they have reached in their lives that you can't afford to stay in New York that I've been talking about. But now more and more everyday people that are not retirees are having to make those choices. And again, they're reaching that point that they can't afford to stay.
What Rick Scott should say is all the billionaires take your money out of New York State and bring it down here. You can stay.
Yeah.
Sort of like there should be a this just popped into my head. There should be a Florida and Texas gold card for the billionaires.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Come on in.
Exactly.
The water's fine. Yeah.
Bring your money down here.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is you see that. I know it's happening, I don't know, to a certain extent in Florida. Jeff Bezos went down and bought like an entire street. Everyone, the neighbors were like, what's going on? All these houses are selling. One person's buying them. And then you see all the billionaires, including Bezos, buy land out in West Texas to start their own space programs. And it's for the everyday person, though, it really is getting to a point of not just New York and New York City. It's also California, Illinois, other these blue states, blue areas where they just can't afford to stay. I actually talked to somebody this past weekend in our area. Now, they live in Texas, and they said, nope, living in a big blue city, it's been much more expensive, and I've decided that I'm going to actually move. I'm moving to a rural area. It's a lot less expensive. My insurance, auto insurance drops, and all of this. I can find real estate much cheaper, and I don't want to be in the mess of all this chaos anymore. So you and I have talked about in what's happened in the past, urban blight, things that are going on. And I've been watching as a number of stores and restaurants have been closing in certain blue areas.
Yep.
Jack in the Box was one that hit the news, and it's just a handful of locations. But Starbucks hit the news. They're closing some locations. These companies go through this. But my question is, are they going through this in areas, are they seeing in these areas, if there's higher crime in certain areas, these ultra blue run cities and areas, is it much more expensive now to keep those stores open? Does it make sense to keep those stores open? I'm just asking a question. I don't know if that's the case, if that applies to any of those aforementioned companies.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio. We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara.
Trump talking about yesterday, and we'll have the audio coming up. He was talking about 154,000 federal employees will have resigned through the deferred resignation program, about 5% of the 3 million workforce. They wanted 10%, and roughly 30% non-essential federal workers are subject to furlough with the shutdown. And Trump, and that's where you saw the investor there, James Fishback from Florida, talking about the fact of, well, this could be actually the Democrats could be the ones that are the catalyst for DOGE working and massive cuts in federal employment. We'll see whether that happens or not.
All right.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. All right. So we're shut down. Everything is stopped. Not really.
My mic's still working.
You know, I was watching, this was on CNN yesterday, and this was former Obama advisor Dan Coe, who was talking about the fact that the base is ticked off because Democrats aren't fighting Trump. That's what this is really about.
Yeah.
And he gives an example of where they're losing it because Trump coming out and saying, hey, if your government position is based on discretionary spending, you know, you could get caught.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, what does he say the Democrats are failing to do is to take it and amplify it that there'll be no TSA agents, no air traffic controllers, no NTSB, no FBI to investigate crimes, because those are all discretionary spending. Here's this. Here he is. All right.
Want to fight?
They do want to fight, and it stuns me how much the Democrats are getting owned right now in communication and not fighting hard enough. Let me give you an example. Russ Vought rolled out a memo saying that any employee with discretionary funding could be subject to mass firing. Let me give you an example of what they could have done to take away Donald Trump's leverage. Hey, do you like safe travel? Well, if you go to the airport, he could fire all the TSA security agents. And if you make it to the airplane, there'll be no air traffic controllers. And guess what? If the airplane crashes, the NTSB or the FBI won't be able to investigate it because they won't be there. And if you want to bring someone to justice, correctional officers won't exist, so good luck trying to send them to prison. You go all the way down the line on this. Cancer research, food inspectors, or even the Secret Service that surround Donald Trump are all paid by those discretionary funds. There was absolutely no attempt by the Democrats to try to remove the leverage that the Republicans were putting forward. That's a huge missed opportunity.
Because, you know, Trump wouldn't do it. That's why they didn't do it.
Right, yeah.
Trump's going to say, well, I'm not going to cut those positions. I'm going to cut the ones that aren't necessary.
Right.
Those are necessary. Those are necessary. But it just shows you, and I want to play this audio cut here because this goes back to 2019. Because one of the things is where even the mainstream media is trying to make the case, well, the Democrats don't want to fund, have health care for illegal immigrants. We go back to 2019. We're playing these audio cuts because the Republicans are just pounding these on social media saying, yeah, they do. This is 2019. Every single Democratic presidential candidate in 2019 rose their hand in support of health care for illegals. Here we go.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Every single Democrat raises their hand. Yeah. Every single one.
Right.
So, and there was like 12 Democrats on stage all running for president.
Yeah.
So we all know what they want to do.
Right.
You know, so stop trying to lie. We know what you want to do. How do we know? You've told us.
Well, it's you're doing it. You're demonstrating it. Why do you feel you have to lie about it? Why? We've been asking this question for a long time. Why can't you own it? Full on, just own what you believe. Promote what you believe. Look, the far left is attacking ICE.
Yeah.
We know where your party stands. Why aren't you just saying it out loud?
Yeah.
What tell me what's wrong with promoting it? I mean, I know the entire idea is completely flawed, both politically and on its merits. It is wrong, but why can't you guys own it?
National Review, the editors. Democrats are trying to pressure Republicans on health care. Joe Biden used COVID-era spending bills as an excuse to expand Obamacare subsidies to help cover the skyrocketing premiums caused by the regulations of the national health care law. Those enhanced subsidies were supposed to be temporary and were set to expire at the end of 2025. One of the things we said at the time is once you fund something, it's almost impossible to rescind it.
Yeah.
Democrats want them extended. In addition, Democrats are screaming bloody murder about modest good government reforms to Medicaid aimed at, here it is now, verifying addresses of recipients, making sure illegal immigrants don't get covered, and requiring able-bodied enrollees to work part-time jobs to receive coverage. Do they even have to work part-time jobs, or was the volunteer thrown in there? I think the volunteering was thrown in there.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are all, by the way, 80-20 issues.
Yeah.
Right, that's an 80-20 issue.
Yeah.
What the shutdown talk is really about, however, is that Schumer is under heavy pressure from his base to demonstrate that the Democrats are willing to take the fight to Trump, responding to the progressive criticisms that they are flailing about as Trump imposes his will. They just view health care spending as the best pretext. Democrats are confident they can work with their allies in the media to blame any shutdown on Republicans, which they have had success in the past, but historically, the public has tended to place blame on the party that rejects a clean bill and forces a shutdown to make policy demands on issues that aren't directly related to disagreements over government spending levels. In this case, Democrats aren't even asking to restore funding that was cut. They are demanding that Republicans expand a program they have been opposing for the past 16 years. Some Democrats are pointing to the 2013 shutdown, resulting from the Republican effort to defund Obamacare for inspiration. At the time, Republicans were said to have lost the fight politically, but they still came back in 2014 to take over the Senate, gaining 9 seats. However, the story of 2014 is more of a story of the disastrous rollout of Obamacare, with its failed website, its skyrocketing premiums, and the fact that millions of individuals lost health insurance plans that they liked despite Obama's promises that they would not. The very real damage caused by Obamacare overwhelmed any sour memory voters had of a shutdown. So there you go. But yeah, it's about, and they all know it. It's about the fact that they just, they believe that, because you think about it, if you're a Democrat, everything has been about Trump. You really don't hear much about Democrats at all. Everything about is what Trump's doing today, what Trump's doing today. And, they really expected, like in Washington, D.C., that Washington could stop what was going on, that the city of Washington could stop the National Guard in there.
Right.
And we have said, Trump will throw out stuff, and they'll say that's unconstitutional. And then you see what Trump does, and none of it's unconstitutional, as we've seen in Chicago.
Right.
As we have seen in what he has said they would be there for in Portland, and what we saw happen in Memphis. What we see happening, was Governor of Mississippi that invited the National Guard in, I think? I can't remember. It was Louisiana or Mississippi here. Yeah. And so you just, you look at everything that's going on. Trump has had tremendous, foreign successes. Iran, You look at right now, you've got, and again, we don't know what's going to happen, with the whole Israel-Gaza situation there. But he's got, he's convinced Qatar to be on the U.S. side.
Yep.
You've got more Arab nations agreeing with the president there. We'll see what happens, but after Iran, I still find it unbelievable. Now, maybe it's because I'm the old guy. I'll drop this because, soon that birthday will be a distant memory. Hopefully.
Do you still remember it?
But I find it absolutely amazing, and I know I've said it over and over again, that Trump went in, that Trump, with the Americans and the Israelis, but they were both involved in it, but went in, took out the nuclear sites.
Yeah, right.
And a week later, nobody was talking about it. Remember Soleimani, how long that went on for?
Oh, my gosh.
Went on for months.
Right.
Nothing. Goes in, does it, nothing. No worldwide protest, nothing. Goes in, does it. That's unbelievable. And I think you've got a lot of Democrats sitting on the side saying, we're just sitting here, we're doing nothing. Our numbers keep going down. We've got to do something. We've got to do something. We're doing nothing. Something's better than nothing. Well, sometimes it's not.
It got so ridiculous on the Soleimani thing, I thought the Democrats were actually going to get together and try to help Iran find his replacement. I mean, it was that. Remember,
I know, yeah.
Remember the jokes and the Babylon Bee stories from it because of how ridiculous it was, their response to it? But you bomb Iran, it was pretty much over in days.
Yeah. And so you look at when you set the table about where politics are right now. I mean, even last year we said it. I said, I don't know. I don't know where the nation is going.
Right.
The fact that Trump won sort of gave legitimacy to my I don't know where the nation's going.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. She was so bad, but still, when you think about it, remember, it was last year where there were, still convictions against him.
Yeah.
That's in, when you look at all of that, when you look at everything that has happened, and the public still went, nah, you guys are useless. Seriously. You're like Milton on Office Space. You're useless. Get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened. And then to the point now, you think about it, Democrats looking, for example, we had talked about the whole Harris book. The whole Harris book talks about the complete dysfunction of the Democratic Party, how lost they are. And the mainstream media is covering it day in and day out. They're bringing it up. The debate, really, the right sort of looking at it, just laughing. The left's debating it like crazy. How hard should we criticize her? And, who else is out there besides her? And I saw another poll that was out, and I think Newsom is up and she's down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so much dysfunction, and they're just like, fight!
Well, it's, here's the thing. I knew that that any book by Kamala Harris, ghostwriter, would be good for the right. But I thought for very different reasons. She comes out and throws everybody on her side under the bus because she's blaming everybody else but herself. I don't know where it is in 26 and 28. I really don't. The polls showing Newsom on the rise. Here's my question. Do the rank and file left see Newsom as less radical, or at least not smart enough to go bat soup crazy like an AOC? That they see him as an empty suit, but an empty suit is easier to control and more predictable?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. What I thought was interesting was AOC being interviewed yesterday, talking about Schumer.
Yeah.
And saying, no, he's still the leader, but if you want to come and directly negotiate with me, that's fine. I'm like, whoa.
Right. Yeah.
Republicans want to come. She actually said that Republicans want to come and directly negotiate with me.
Yeah.
So on one hand, she's trying to play the game of, no, he's the leader, and this is what, no, come directly negotiate with me because really I'm the leader.
Exactly.
Oh, my. It's all about
That's
me.
basically what she was saying.
What? My gosh. Just.
Well, and it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before she makes her move, whether it's for Chuck's seat or the White House. And the question is, where does the party go?
866-98 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
As expected, Hurricanes Humberto and Imelda did not or will not make landfall in the eastern U.S. But as USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey points out, that does not mean there have not been impacts associated with the tropical weather, specifically with Imelda.
It made its closest pass to the United States late Monday night and moved within about 200 miles of Cape Canaveral, Florida, before veering to the east. So that's, in hurricane terms, pretty close, but hurricanes tend to be pretty small, and outside of just a few dozen miles, you tend to be away from the significant impacts of a hurricane.
Peripheral impacts to the central and southern Atlantic coast include
some light rain, also some gusty winds along the coast, and then with two hurricanes churning fairly nearby in the western Atlantic, that has really gotten the surf churned up and some modest water level rises, so some coastal flooding due to elevated ocean levels. But otherwise, no direct impacts from Imelda.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so Scott Jennings was talking to Van Jones and talking about the problem from his point of view, Van Jones' point of view, what the problem may be for Democrats in their whole shutdown narrative.
Has the posture of the Democratic Party on this at this moment surprised you? Is this what you expected? Do you think they're following the right strategic path?
I think that we're responding in the short term to a very frustrated base that just wants to see some fight from the Democrats. So the question is, are the people who are yelling and screaming at Democrats today, do something, going to be yelling and screaming at Democrats tomorrow saying, why did you do this?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the challenge. And so, but if you're going to try to fight, I think fighting on healthcare, which is the dividing line, is a smart place for Democrats because the pain is so real. Next quarter, insurance rates are going to go up 100%, 130% for a lot of Americans.
Let me stop right there. Are you saying Obamacare premiums are going to go up 100 to 130%? Because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about private health care.
Right.
Well, then you've got the Republicans. I just want to stop it right there for a second. Then you've got the Republicans can make a great point that Obamacare has been a massive failure.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been able to contain costs. I haven't heard that figure. I don't know whether he's exaggerating to Scott Jennings or not.
Yeah, that's accurate.
But I'm taking him on what his argument is, and if his argument is that, well, then Obamacare's been a massive failure. And Republicans could make the case that's why we didn't want Obamacare.
And it's not going to be reversed. It's only going to be more expensive.
And you have to pay for it. This goes back to the entire healthcare situation, as you and I talked about a long time ago. This is why federalism should lead. Let states do what they want to do. Understand the history of healthcare in this nation. When California tried to do it, when Colorado tried to do it, when Vermont tried to do it, to do all this nirvana on healthcare, none of them did it.
Can't pay for it.
Nobody wants to pay for it now. The reason that they want the federal government involved in it is because they don't want to pay, Democrats don't want to pay the premiums for it. They want debt, which is future generations to pay for our health care today. Understand what it is. They don't want to pay for it now. They want taxation, as we said, the great loophole of taxation without representation. Let's just pile on the debt and put it on the backs of future generations.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you choose and where you choose.
And thank you.
All right, so a yelling match yesterday.
All right.
In the Senate between Senator Josh Hawley and former Biden administrator. By the way, earlier I'd said somebody was an Obama administration official. It was Biden. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I know. And what's the difference?
Yeah.
But this was a yelling match between Josh Hawley and former Biden administration official Gregory Jackson, who served as deputy director of Biden's White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And more recently, the head of the Community Justice Action Fund over the organization's policies of creating safe spaces for the radical transgender movement in order to stop gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what?
Uh-huh.
Huh? Let's just hear part of this back and forth. All right, here we go.
Comprehensive approach is defunding
law
the police,
enforcement is a
which
part
is
of
what
the
this
ecosystem
says.
the entire time.
This is so typical of what the Democrats do now. After your policies have transparently failed and led to the deaths of millions of Americans, now you say you've never heard of defunding the police. Your own report recommends it on page after page after page. Let me ask you about something else you say. Here's what you say we ought to invest in. Instead of funding the police, here's what we ought to invest in. We need to invest in programs that acknowledge the need for safe space initiatives led by lesbian, gay, bisexual, two-spirit, trans, and gender nonconforming people. What's two-spirit?
Well, look, I don't know exactly. You guys are pulling some interesting quotes.
This is from your report.
If you look at the report, the focus is on investing in violence intervention, outreach workers.
What is you
victim
say? You
services.
say that you shouldn't invest in the police, but we ought to invest in two-spirit community programs that acknowledge two-spirit.
Look, we are not going to discriminate
what
against.
is that?
We're not going to discriminate against any nonprofit. That
What
wants
is
to
a
help us
two-spirit?
prevent violence in
What
our
is
community.
two-spirit? You say don't fund the police, but do fund programs that create safe spaces for two-spirit people. What is? I just want to know. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is.
Well, I honestly, I'm not completely aware of the language or
You
the
wrote the
spirit of how that was
report?
written. But what I'm telling you is that what we
What is a
advocate for.
two-spirit individual? I mean, really, this is your policymaker's playbook. You are the witness called by the Democrats on this committee, so I assume you reflect their views.
Well,
you don't want to fund the police. You want to fund safe spaces for two-spirit individuals. What is a two-spirit person?
I feel like I'm looking at a two-faced individual because you talk about reducing
Oh, no, sir.
violence.
You're looking at somebody who's
You're also
reading you
speaking
your
out
own
against
words, and I'd
violence
like to hear an
prevention
answer.
programs.
Here's the answer. The answer is you don't have any solutions. You want to invest in gobbledygook and take away money from police officers who actually keep our communities safe, and when you're called on the record, you deny it.
Now, I'm raising my hand.
Yeah.
We here at Red Eye Radio know what two-spirit is because we discussed this years ago when Facebook came out with their, remember what it started out, it was 52 different genders?
Yeah, 58, I think.
58, 52, 58, whatever. And I know, well, this is why when Biden was asked in the campaign of 2020, when he was asked how many genders are there, and he said 3. We went, no, what are you doing?
Answer.
That's not the right answer. It's unlimited.
Yeah.
You can't, and that was even part of the criticism. Well, the 58 or the 52, whatever it was, we'll go with 58 because I'm sure they've expanded it by now. The 58 is just a starting point.
The correct answer for a liberal running for president is gender is a social construct.
Yes, very good.
There is no number that applies.
Yes, correct. Two-spirit
The premise of your question is wrong, and also how dare you?
Two-spirit is a Native American who does not identify as a male or female.
Right.
From what I know, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it includes the spirit.
Or they identify as having both masculine and feminine identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They could be both
or not exclusives. That's that. And the spirit, though, also, as when we did our research on it, also was about the spirituality combined with the gender identity.
Mm.
You know the thing that's so stupid here? Where does most of gun violence happen? Gangs.
Mm-hmm.
Stop the gangs, you stop the gun violence.
Yeah.
And Josh Hawley's completely right there. All the gobbledygook. Invest in this and safe spaces for these people. No, the gun violence happens because of crime. And probably the majority of the gun violence is because of drugs in the inner city.
Look, what the left wants to keep going is programs like USAID, other programs where they can hide money, where they can expand control by the federal government. They do this under the guise of helping certain groups or people, and the fact of the matter is it just allows them to spend. Remember what Michael Schellenberger found, what they were doing with money for USAID. It was mind-boggling how scary it was how they were using that money. And this should be of great concern. You know, we always go back to, you mentioned it earlier, you brought it up, we don't like Messi, the John Boehner thing.
Mm-hmm.
This has been the problem. The problem is, in order to get through this garbage that we spend money on, you're going to have to roll up your sleeves and probably your pants too. That's if you choose to wear pants. It's the only way you're going to get to it. But as a nation, we want to turn a blind eye. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal with it. Well, then you can expect that things are going to skyrocket. Government is going to be bigger than ever. And yes, some of those things skyrocketing will be the cost of Obamacare, because if it's correct, the premiums are going to jump by 100%. Oh, my gosh. People are going to be screaming.
When you look at the gun violence guide from the Biden administration, though, it's a perfect example of, you look at somebody's report, and then you say, what's this in the report? And then they're offended that you're throwing back at them their own words to justify the policy that they wish to enact. And then they get angry at you when you start asking questions. And when you start asking questions and they don't even know what the money's going for, and then you get angry about it, and then they start name-calling you, calling Josh Hawley two-faced or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, you may not be two-spirit, you're two-faced. This guy has no idea. They're just throwing money around to any liberal organization and saying, if we throw money across the board to liberal organizations and nonprofits, we can defund the police and our streets are going to be safe. Well, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. To be promoting that is absolutely insane.
Well, because
you and I both know where the majority of gun violence is coming from in our society.
And what they're doing is building a massive chaos machine. And they're funding it. You build the chaos machine because chaos is where they thrive. Chaos is where you don't have control. And you have greater lawlessness because you have less enforcement. In a nation of laws, enforcement is the key. It is the central point to keeping people safe.
Well, we've heard this over the last month. Incarceration doesn't stop crime.
Yeah, it does. Keeps that person from committing crimes against others.
Of course it does.
Yes, it does.
But when people are willing, Dad, we still remember everything you've said to my father. People want to be BS'd. You can throw anything at them.
Oh, yeah.
You can say gravity doesn't exist.
Right.
You can step off that cliff.
Right.
And you're going to find people that agree with it. We haven't gotten to the point of complete and total insanity, though, because nobody has yet sent me $1 million when I've asked for it.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that hasn't happened to that particular point.
Yeah.
But when you can promote just things that are absolutely crazy and say things like incarceration doesn't stop crime. Well, it stops that person from doing it. Of course it does. Yeah. You know, they found out, remember all the shoplifting? Remember they found out it was just, what was it, 30 people?
Yeah.
There were the 30 or 40 people that were causing in a huge section. Where was that? Was that New York City? I forgot where that was, where they did that, and they said it was a very small portion.
I think
of
it was New York.
And so if you put those people away, if you put those 40 people away, and you don't sit there and say, it's okay if you steal $900. Or, you know, we've realized $900, since we're getting rid of the penny, you can steal $900. I know that makes no sense, but I thought it sounded good.
Well, but, you know, and they found that even the people that small organization were hiring to go out and do the deed, it was still in the hundreds. It was fewer than 400 people altogether.
That's what it was, yeah. It was something like that. But it was a very small. It wasn't
a very small
It
group.
wasn't like you had 500,000 people doing it.
Right.
It was something that you could manage, and if you put all those people in jail and they're not out on the streets, you stop a significant portion. Now, if your argument is, well, incarceration doesn't stop crime, and I would respond, well, of course it does. And you go, not every crime. Nobody's having that argument.
No.
It's like that's what they jump to. Well, not every crime. You're making it sound like, no, I'm saying that stop it, because that's what they have to do. They have to deflect in that way. Well, you're trying to make the case that if we put people in jail, we'll stop every crime. You're never going to stop every crime. We know that.
Yeah.
We know that.
Right.
But you will stop a significant portion of it.
Yep.
You know how we know? Because you can go on the crime map. You can download the crime map. You can see what the crime rate is in your city. It's nationwide. And there are areas where there is lower crime, and there are areas that there are higher crime. So in some areas, they figured out how to lower crime.
Yep.
But the fact that we have to explain this like everybody's in kindergarten shows the problem with the left.
Well, and that's it. And that's the idea. You keep talking in circles, come up with these terms that nobody understands, and tell me what you couldn't fund. Tell me what you couldn't support.
Yeah.
Oh, the police.
Exactly, the things that you actually need to fund. Yeah. You can't do.
And that's the insanity of it all. Because, again, the chaos rules. And you throw money around, and you buy that special interest at every stop along the way, while also building funds to continue the chaos machine, which requires you to deplete law enforcement, demonize law enforcement. We're still seeing it. in recent days.
Well, yeah, ICE. They've just directed it to a different form of law enforcement.
This is part of the entire goal. End law enforcement, end civilized society, and you have control. That's what they would love to do.
Well, you actually don't, but
no. Well, they think they do.
Somehow losing control has become control.
Well, it's
everything is posterior backwards.
Ending the private sector on everything, on medicine, on healthcare, on energy, all of it, so they can make sure that government takes it over. Ultimately, they have control.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, I will tell you, though, the biggest chuckle I got yesterday was Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth saying he no longer wants to see fat generals or admirals. No more fat generals. Remember, that's how the Nazis lost World War II. General Burkhalter, Schultz, they're all overweight.
That's right.
Actually, I thought it was a pretty good speech.
Overall, it was.
Yeah. Overall, I think that without question, you have to get back to, what the mission of the military is.
We have to have tough standards.
Yes.
It shouldn't be standards that make it essentially acceptable to anyone who wants to be there or feels like they have a right to be there. No one has a right to. You should have to meet that standard in military. That's the way it is.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.